This evening, first up, police descend on the Mohamed family home at dawn and walk out with 5 firearms. Even though the license were renewed just days before, the opposition leader is furious. His father calls it inappropriate and the government is not backing down. Then a soldier on border patrol doing his duty on Guyana's western frontier is ambushed and shot twice in the leg. Lance Corporal Akeem Douglas is recovering in hospital. The Prime Minister paid him a personal visit and the nation wants answers about who pulled the trigger. Plus, orange jumpsuits, 2 motorcycles, $4 million. A coordinated midday robbery at a diamond business unfolds with chilling precision, leaving staff, customers, and a mother shopping with her family completely traumatized. No arrests have been made. Meanwhile, bullying in school is getting a national response. The Ministry of Education is building a framework, holding consultations, and eventually wants it written into law. They plan to make every classroom in Guyana safer. And thousands of protesters fill the streets of South Africa demanding the deportation of foreign nationals as anti-migrant tension boils over and diplomats across the continent scramble to respond. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for May 6, 2026. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, in a dramatic early morning operation, Guyana Police Force officers descended on the Houston East Bank Demerara residence of opposition leader Azruddin Mohamed and his father, businessman Nazar Mohamed, seizing 5 personal firearms, the latest escalation in a saga rooted in U.S. sanctions and extradition proceedings. Acting on instructions from Deputy Commissioner Simon McLean, officers confiscated 3 weapons belonging to Azruddin and 2 from his father. The seizure brings the total number of weapons surrendered by the family to approximately 75, including those previously held by their security business.
When the police came, and I see a lot of policemen here, 3 police came to my business place, saying that they come to collect with a letter, just like what you have there, to collect the security weapons. Right? I asked them if you want my personal weapons too, and they says no. But they are here only to collect the security weapons because your license and everything as it relates to financial business have been cancelled, and there is no need for you to have the security weapons. So about 70 guns. I sent them over. They said no, they don't need your personal firearm. Right? I went and I licensed my guns 10 days ago. He's supposed to go. Right? And license his guns.
Police cited the duo's indictment in the Southern District of Florida for conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud and money laundering, ordering them to show cause why their firearm license should not be permanently revoked under the Firearms Act. The Mohammeds pushed back sharply. The businessman pointed out that licenses were renewed as recently as the 27th of April 2026, just days before the seizure, and that authorities had previously assured them that their personal weapons would not be affected.
It's purely political, no doubt. It's absolutely political. That's fine. We never had a single breach. He has firearm for 20 years. A single breach. You know, never ever been asked by the police to give any statement or anything which is inappropriate.
The opposition leader did not hold back his accusations.
Just this morning I saw President Irfan arrival day message talk about democracy, share prosperity, justice. There is no democracy in this country, President. I should have been in Barbados to attend the Indian arrival day function. And today, this morning, van load of police officers outside of my residence. This is uncalled for. Today is a holiday. This is uncalled for.
In 2024, the Mohammeds were sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control for 11 counts related to various criminal charges, including wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering. Following the sanction, The police had seized approximately 70 firearms used to secure their homes, businesses, and operations. Staying with current events, Ghana's western frontier has seen a troubling surge in hostile activity, with Ghana Defense Force patrols reporting 2 separate shooting incidents along the Cayenne River in Region 7 within 48 hours. On Tuesday afternoon, a GDF patrol conducting border security operations along the Cayenne River was engaged by unknown attackers in 2 distinct incidents at known locations along the river. Ranks responded in keeping with operational procedures and successfully maneuvered out of the area on both occasions. No injuries were reported. Authorities have not identified the attackers in the incident. The Tuesday incident followed a shooting on Monday in which Lance Corporal Akeem Douglas sustained 2 gunshot wounds to his right leg when his patrol escorting civilian vessels from Macapa to Eterimban came under fire near Blackwater, Region 7. Douglas was medically evacuated to Georgetown and is currently recovering at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. The incident drew the personal attention of Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips, who visited Douglas at the hospital on Tuesday alongside Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony and Chief of Defense Staff Brigadier Umar Khan, reaffirming the government's full support for its soldiers serving on the frontiers. The back-to-back events come at a particularly sensitive time, with Ghana currently presenting its case before the International Court of Justice over Venezuela's long-standing claim to the Essequibo region. The Ghana Defense Force has reaffirmed its commitment to protecting both its personnel and Ghana's territorial integrity as investigations continue. On a different note, a brazen midday robbery at a business establishment on Diamond Public Road, East Bank Demerara, has left persons in the community shaken after 4 coordinated bandits made off with over $4 million in cash, leaving staff and customers traumatized in their wake. The robbery unfolded with alarming precision around 2:50 p.m. on Monday. 2 masked men dressed in distinctive orange jumpsuits entered the business and approached the cashier's cubicle. One pointed a handgun at the cashier and ordered her away from the register, while his accomplice slipped behind the counter and emptied the cash drawer into a haversack. A 43-year-old vendor from Providence, who was at the cashier paying for a purchase with her family, became a victim when the armed suspect snatched her purse and cell phone. She lost $90,000 in cash, her driver's license, identification card, and bank card. The 2 bandits then calmly descended to the ground floor, where 2 accomplices were waiting. All 4 men exited the building, mounted 2 black Honda XR motorcycles bearing no number plates, and sped off northward along Diamond Public Road. In total, the bandits escaped with over $4 million from the business and $90,000 from the vendor. Police Regional Division 4B are actively investigating the incident. However, no arrests have been made. Stick around when we return. Ministry of Education crafts landmark anti-bullying policy for schools, and Ghana's top heart doctors sounds the alarm.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for doing surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Education is developing a national anti-bullying and anti-violence framework aimed at introducing standard procedures in schools across Guyana to improve students' behavior and strengthen discipline. Education Minister Sonia Parag said the initiative forms part of broader efforts to create safer learning environments and establish clear guidelines for handling behavioral issues in schools. According to the minister, consultations are ongoing with stakeholders and members of the public to gather recommendations that will help shape the policy framework. The proposed measures will include standard operating procedures for schools to guide conduct in classrooms, assemblies, and other school settings. Minister Parag also underscored the importance of practical moral education, noting the behavioral development must go beyond theory and be actively reinforced in schools. The ministry plans to compile the recommendations into a national policy document that will serve as a guide for educational institutions, with the long-term aim of enacting anti-bullying and anti-violence measures into law. Parag reconfirmed the government's zero-tolerance stance on bullying in all its forms and said that addressing the issue will require collaboration among educators, parents, communities, and policymakers. The ministry hopes to complete the framework within the coming months. In other news, a 35-year-old motorcyclist is dead after a collision with a motor lorry at the junction of the Mandela to Eccles Highway and Rome Access Road on Sunday evening. Another fatal reminder of the dangers lurking at Ghana's busiest intersections. Andre Jr. Lewis of Guyhawk Park, South Rhymeville, Georgetown, was traveling south along the eastern drive lane of the Mandela to Eccles Highway around 6:16 p.m. on May 3rd, when a motor lorry proceeding east along Rome Access Road allegedly drove directly into his path. The front of Lewis's motorcycle slammed into the left rear of the lorry, leaving him with severe injuries. Emergency medical technicians pronounced Lewis dead at the scene. His body was subsequently escorted to the Davis Memorial Crematorium and Funeral Home, mortuary, where it awaits a post-mortem examination. The 24-year-old lorry driver of D. Edward Village, West Coast Berbice, was breathalyzed at the scene and no trace of alcohol was detected. He is currently in police custody assisting with investigations. The fatal crash comes as Ghana continues to grapple with road safety concerns, even as authorities tout the impact of the safe road intelligence system along the very highway where Lewis lost his life. Investigations remain ongoing. Moving on, doctors are seeing something deeply troubling. Young Guyanese in their 20s, 30s, and 40s dying suddenly and unexpectedly, some in their sleep, others during routine daily activities. Now, one of the country's leading cardiologists is speaking out. Dr. Mahendra Karpan, head of medical services and cardiology at the Georgetown Hospital Corporation, has issued an urgent public warning about the rising incidence of sudden cardiac death among young people in Guyana. And the message is clear. This is not just happening to the elderly. Sudden cardiac death, Dr. Karpan explains, is an electric malfunction in the heart that triggers an abnormal rhythm which can prove fatal within minutes. While arterial blockages remain the leading cause, other triggers including inflammation and infection of the heart muscle, severely uncontrolled hypertension, enlarged or stiffened heart muscles, and inherited conditions. Worryingly, Dr. Karpan says Ghana's young population is showing a marked increase in serious heart disease, not only from blockages, but from weakened heart muscles linked to infections, uncontrolled diabetes, high cholesterol, and smoking. He is urging Guyanese to take early warning signs seriously: chest pains, shortness of breath, palpitations, and lightheadedness. But he also highlighted a subtler red flag that many overlook: finding yourself getting tired or fatigued doing things that never used to wear you out. Get checked early and make it regular, Dr. Karpan urged. In a country where young lives are being lost without warning, that advice may be the most important prescription of all. Don't go away after the break. Chile landfill tops UN list for man-made methane emission. And Venezuela rejects World Court jurisdiction in Guyana border dispute.
problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Gittins tonight. Venezuela refused to recognize the International Court of Justice Authority over the oil-rich Essequibo, demanding direct talks with Guyana instead. A Santiago landfill is named the world's top methane emitter. South Africa's foreign minister reaches out to Nigeria and Ghana as mass protests calling for the deportation of foreign nationals sweep the country. And the US says military and economic pressures bring Iran to the table as President Trump threatens a blockade of Iranian ports and assert control in the Strait of Hormuz. We will begin in South America. Venezuela has told the International Court of Justice it does not recognize the court's jurisdiction over its long-running border dispute with Guyana. At stake is the oil-rich Essequibo region, covering roughly 160 square kilometers. Guyana seeks confirmation of the 1899 border ruling, while Venezuela dismisses it as fraudulent. Venezuela insists the dispute must be resolved through direct bilateral negotiations between both nations. Loma Los Colorados has taken Santiago's waste for 3 decades, with unseparated organics generating methane. Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman reports.
Sandwiched between the Andes Mountains and the Pacific Ocean lies a mega landfill. For the last 30 years, trucks have been depositing rubbish in Loma Los Colorados, where, like in most places, organic waste isn't separated from the rest. And it's that organic waste that produces methane gas. According to the United Nations Environmental Program, satellite images put this landfill at the top of the list of 50 man-made sites that produce the world's highest levels of methane emissions. Why? Because of the high concentration of organic waste. Brought here from Chile's capital, rubbish left by 60% of Santiago's nearly 8 million residents. This produces 106,000 tons of methane a year, according to the UN report. If this landfill doesn't look worse, it's because after the rubbish trucks leave their waste here, large dumpsters cover it with dirt as fast as possible. And I can also assure you there's something else you can't see, and that is the stench that comes from this area. And it goes way beyond this hill to communities kilometers away. 70-year-old Patricio Salgado says the smell also attracts flies.
Living next to a landfill has been making our lives more difficult 24 hours a day. It's not pleasant.
To be fair, there are also other smelly culprits in this rural area, including a pig farm. KDM Enterprises, which runs the landfill, says they're extracting more than 700 million cubic meters of methane before it enters the atmosphere, turning it into biogas for power plants. But more is needed, including obliging Chileans to reduce their organic waste output and recycle it for compost or biofuel. And until that happens, landfills like this one will continue to produce methane, a far more powerful greenhouse gas than CO2, with a global, not just local, impact on climate change. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Tiltil, Chile.
South Africa's foreign minister has spoken to government authorities in Nigeria and Ghana after a series of demonstrations against migrants. Thousands of protesters in South Africa have been calling for the government to deport foreigners. Al Jazeera's Famida Miller reports.
After weeks of anti-migrant protests, Ethiopian business owner, who we'll call Ahmed, says he's packing up his shop for fear of harassment and looting. He's been living in Durban for 20 years and says this is not the first time he's seen demonstrations against foreigners.
When this kind of vigilantism happen on our business situation, and it's not easy to recover. As I said, we are not corporates who are backed by the insurance companies or the government.
Ahmed wants his identity hidden for fear of reprisal. He says he's concerned by the continuing intimidation of foreigners.
If you know yourself that you're not...
As seen in this video distributed on social media. Here, South Africans ask that foreign nationals identify themselves at a public clinic. They're then told to leave. Those protesting say they're against illegal immigration. They say these migrants are draining resources meant for South Africans. This is Addington Primary School in Durban. It's where in January protests demanding spots for South African children took place. Demonstrators say foreign children were placed at the school at the expense of South Africans.
And the most time when is near elections, either is a local or national election, we've been experiencing these kind of attacks to our foreign national.
The most recent marches have taken place in the capital Pretoria and in Johannesburg. Protesters blame foreigners, mostly other Africans, for taking jobs and the high crime rate. The tensions have strained relations with countries like Ghana and Nigeria. While Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lamola, has condemned the demonstrations, he says he's spoken with officials in those countries to deal with irregular migration.
We did engage to the extent that there is also disinformation that is widespread. Some of the things, the videos are not reality of what is happening in South Africa. And this is also the same engagement I've had with my counterpart from Nigeria. There is marches that are happening that all of you have seen. And we did confirm that we condemn any violence that comes with these marches.
Foreign nationals blame local authorities for not adequately dealing with immigration and the renewal of documentation. South Africans participating in the protests also blame local authorities, but for corruption. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera.
The United States says military and economic pressure is drawing Iran into talks as President Donald Trump touts a block of steel blockade of Iranian ports and U.S. guidance for ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Al Jazeera's Alan Fisher reports.
US President Donald Trump says military and economic action is forcing Iran to the negotiating table, even if Tehran's public comments frustrate him.
Iran wants to make a deal. What I don't like about Iran is they'll talk to me with such great respect, and then they'll go on television, they'll say, we did not speak to the president. We did not, I just spoke to, we did not speak to the president. So they play games, but let me just tell you, they want to make a deal. And who wouldn't? When your military is totally gone, we could do anything we want to them. Who wouldn't?
The US is currently operating a blockade of Iranian ports and providing guidance for ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. It's reported, but not confirmed, that US ships have come under fire from fast Iranian attack boats, and they've blown those boats out of the water. At a news conference earlier in the day, the US Defense Secretary insisted this was not a ceasefire breach.
American forces won't need to enter Iranian waters or airspace. It's not necessary. We're not looking for a fight. But Iran also cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway.
Donald Trump was asked what he would consider a ceasefire breach. You'll find out, he responded, adding, more importantly, the Iranians know what not to do to avoid restarting the war. The president says the current US blockade of Iranian ports is like a block of steel, and he says it's having a huge impact on their economy.
I hope it fails.
Is that what it is?
You know why? Because I want to win.
The US and Iran are making claim and counterclaim, but it's understood they're still talking, still floating proposals. But there are sticking points, which threaten the ceasefire more than the skirmishes in the Strait. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, at the White House.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3D weather forecast. And that's it, TV2 Headline News for this Wednesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.